Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dive deep into a powerful, almost hidden pattern that shapes everything from the natural world all the way to the global economy. It's a classic story of incredible growth followed by a sudden, catastrophic crash. And it forces us to ask a really fundamental question about how we should organize ourselves if we want to survive and, actually thrive. To really get a feel for this pattern, we have to start with a bit of a cautionary tale. I want you to imagine an industry that's so huge, so woven into the fabric of a region's identity, that the idea of it just collapsing seems, completely unthinkable. But that is exactly what happened.
Yeah, we're talking about the Newfoundland cod fishery. This story, this spectacular boom, followed by a just devastating bust, is the perfect real-world example of the universal pattern we are about to unpack together.
What's so wild is that when you look back, the reasons for the disaster were crystal clear. You had new technology and huge demand just fueling this massive expansion. The industry's ability to catch fish got so big, so efficient, it just completely overwhelms the cod's natural ability to reproduce. And get this, scientists saw it coming. They were raising the alarm, but the growth just kept going, right up until the whole system completely crashed, causing just immense economic pain.
But here's the kicker. This isn't just a sad story about fishing. The collapse of the cod fishery actually pulls back the curtain on a fundamental systems pattern that shows up absolutely everywhere, from ecosystems to boardrooms.
Okay, so the official name for this pattern is overshoot and collapse. It happens when a system's growth starts eating up its resources way faster than they can be replaced. Basically, the system grows beyond its carrying capacity, the maximum level that its environment can actually support long term.
And you can just picture it, right? You see this initial, really exciting phase of super fast growth. The system feels unstoppable, but it's pushing past that sustainable limit. It's consuming the very things it needs to survive, which, you guessed it, inevitably leads to a sharp, traumatic collapse.
And once you see this pattern, you start seeing it everywhere. It's hiding in plain sight. In business, it's that company that expands so fast it just burns out its employees and blows up its own supply chain. In education, it's a university that admits so many students that classrooms are packed and the actual quality of learning just tanks. In healthcare, it's a hospital taking on so many patients that the staff gets completely overwhelmed, leading to burnout and even medical errors.
So, this all leads to the crucial point, right? If we know this pattern of overshoot and collapse is a constant lurking threat, how do we design our organizations to manage that growth and avoid this fate? How do we build systems that are meant to last?
And this question brings us right to a deep dive conversation about two completely different, almost opposing philosophies for how to structure and manage any system. It really comes down to a fundamental choice between top-down control and bottom-up autonomy.
So on one side, you have that classic hierarchy. It's centralized, it's focused internally, and it's all built on these really well-defined roles. And then on the other side, you have what's called an agent-based system. It's decentralized, it's focused externally, and it's made up of autonomous individuals all making their own decisions.
Okay, let's really get into this. We're going to break down the mechanics, the strengths, and, the critical weaknesses of both of these approaches. Let's see how they might actually handle the risk of that dreaded overshoot.
First up, the hierarchical system. This is the traditional pyramid structure we all know so well. It is designed from the ground up for stability and clarity, with all the big decisions flowing from the top down through a very clear chain of command.
So when you look at its DNA, a hierarchy gives you standardization. It gives you consistency. Top management can keep a really close eye on performance. But, and this is a big but, the trade-off is significant. This kind of structure is super slow to adapt to change. That centralized control can really stifle creativity, it slows down decision-making, and it leads to that kind of bureaucracy that makes it hard to react to warnings. Sound familiar? Just like in the cod fishery.
All right, now let's look at the complete opposite. An agent-based system isn't a pyramid at all, it's much more like a web. Think of it as a decentralized network where autonomous agents, and that could be employees, teams, even whole departments, they interact and make their own decisions based on local information.
The huge advantages here are adaptability and robustness. Because there's no single point of control or failure, the system is just naturally more resilient. It can scale up pretty easily and respond really quickly to local changes. But it's not a silver bullet. This model can be incredibly complex, even unpredictable. Getting everyone on the same page for some global coordination is a real challenge, and sometimes one little failure can cause a domino effect right through the network. So what we're left with are two powerful but totally opposing models. One is built for control, and the other is built for adaptation. And this leaves us with a final, really difficult question. What happens when a system needs to change from one to the other?
This quote it gets right to the heart of the matter. These two systems operate on fundamentally different logic. A hierarchy deduces answers from its internal rules and pre-made plans. An agent-based system induces patterns from external interactions and feedback from the environment. They are literally looking in completely different directions.
And this, right here, is the ultimate challenge. How does a rigid top-down hierarchy become an adaptive bottom-up network? Or, for that matter, how does a sometimes chaotic network find enough coordination to actually achieve a common goal? Recognizing the pattern of overshoot and collapse, that's the first step. But designing, building, and maybe even transitioning between these organizational forms to navigate that threat, well, that is the great leadership puzzle of our time.